Hey, welcome to The Void. Today we're going to be talking about a top NBA draft prospect in 2022. That's Jabari Smith Jr. from Auburn, a freshman, 19 years old, 6'10" shot maker, multi-positional player on the defensive end, type of guy you could put on guards and wings. And on offense, all season for Auburn, this guy proved to be one of the best shot makers in all of college basketball. He looks like someone ready to come into the NBA and be a Rashard Lewis, Michael Porter Jr., Harrison Barnes type of guy who can score with size. But in Auburn's loss to Miami in the round of 32, he had his worst game of the season. Absolutely terrible on offense, could not hit shots. And I had a conversation with Mark Titus and Tate Frazier from the Titus and Tate podcast about Jabari Smith, what happened in that game that contributed to him having his worst game of his college career, and what it might mean for his NBA future.
You could see this coming from a mile away if you watched Auburn all season. That I actually had Auburn in my Final Four, so I'm not going to take a victory lap and pretend like I knew they were going to lose in the second round. But if you told me Auburn was going to flame out in the NCAA tournament, I would say I know exactly how it's going to happen, and it looked exactly like it did against Miami. Yeah, Jabari was not great in this game, but you gotta. If you're someone who just turned on this game and this is the first time you saw Jabari Smith, obviously it's his worst game of the season, so that we shouldn't go off of that as like what kind of prospect he is. But you got to understand the context, which is that if I was Jabari Smith, I would be at my wit's end playing alongside these guards at Auburn all season. Like I would have. Part of the reason he was, I forget what it was. Was it 3 for 16, something like that? The part of the reason I think he was 3 for 16 is that this man, once the ball gets in his hands, he's like, I have to shoot this because if I don't, I'm never getting it back. So he takes question. It's like a snowball effect. He takes questionable shots, and then all of his teammates. He has the. I could not think of two worse guards than Wendell Green and KD Johnson to be alongside a guy like Jabari Smith, who is. I wouldn't say he's a passive player, but he's not exactly. His instinct is not like I'm going to get up as many shots as I can, and that's part of the reason I like him as a prospect. He's not exactly a guy who's going to put up 25 shots no matter what. Like he wants to play within the flow of the offense, but he has the two worst guards you could possibly imagine in college basketball playing alongside him, and that was a problem for Auburn all season. And to watch them flame out on the biggest stage like that was very frustrating, but also not exactly a surprise.
Well, Tate, I mean, what did Auburn miss with Jabari Smith? Because, he is a top pick. I guess how would you describe Jabari Smith's game to somebody who hadn't seen him play and produce at the level that he can?
Well, he's going to go to the NBA and probably score 25,000 points, and everyone's going to look back and say, oh my God, that guy was at Auburn with Walker Kessler, who's also in the league, getting triple doubles with blocks. And those two guys lost in the second round, which is even more of an indictment on the fact that Bruce Pearl's a terrible basketball coach. And then if we want to give him credit for, the roster, we really can't give him credit for the roster because, as Titus just said, you can't have two worse guards than the guards you had for Walker Kessler and Jabari Smith. You need someone that's trying to facilitate, someone that can actually play the position, that can make an entry pass, that can get Jabari in good positions to take good shots. I mean, a lot of times he was catching the ball and he's 30 feet away from the basket. There's 6 seconds left on the shot clock. He's like, I guess I'll just shoot it. I mean, what else is he supposed to do? And then he's getting killed for taking bad 30-foot jumpers. Yeah. But that's on the guards. That's not on him. He's going to be a star in the NBA. I mean, I think that's a fact.
This is definitely, hopefully, I should say. I mean, I don't know if it's definite, but God, I hope it is. This is good. This has to live with Bruce Pearl the way that Rick Barnes couldn't get out of the second round with Kevin Durant is kind of his legacy to a lot of people. This should be similar to for Bruce Pearl because Jabari Smith did not belong on a college basketball court. If you watch this guy all year, you're like, this is all right. We've seen it. Like the first time I watched him, I was like, I've seen enough. Get him out of college. Like he doesn't. Like
he should sit out the rest of the year.
I understand why the NBA says you have to go a year to college. I understand the rule why they put it in place, but like, come on, we got to make exceptions. Get this guy out of here. He's too good. He doesn't belong on this court. Yeah. So this should, if the world is fair, this will follow Bruce Pearl the rest of his career the way it follows Rick Barnes that he couldn't get it done with Kevin Durant.
You mentioned it, Titus, but him shooting the ball, not driving to the basket a lot. One of the NBA criticisms of Jabari Smith is like, yeah, he's a super versatile defender. Yeah, he can shoot the lights out. Yeah, he could dunk on people, but shot creation is the concern that NBA people have. Despite how bad those Auburn guards were and are, Did we see that flaw in that game with his inability to create against Miami?
I think part of the problem, I guess, with that is when you're 6'10" and you have a smooth stroke, you're not, and you're at the college level, you're not exactly worried about creating separation, creating shots, because you can get your shot off on anybody. And so I would like to think that to me is a tug of war between, like, am I trying to win college basketball games or am I trying to show NBA scout stuff? And if you're trying to win college basketball games, this was never a problem for Jabari Smith at the college level, like creating his own shit. Because I mean, this man, we saw it time and time again. He just like would rise up from the elbow, and he's got a 6'8" guy on him with a hand in his face, and he knocks down a shot. So if you went to him and you're like, Jabari, we need to create better separation, we need you better, he'd be like, what are you talking about? You know, like I can get any shot off I want at this level. So no, I you know, that would be, I guess, a concern moving forward. But for me, like watching him at the college level, I never thought like this is something this guy has to work on right now, because it was never, when you're that big and can shoot it as well as he can, that was never really a problem.
Put him next to Cade Cunningham, and he is going to be unbelievable. He needs someone that is going to try to facilitate his game, and he did not have that at Auburn. And that's why. I mean, he has guard skills, but he's not a guard. You know, he's not going to be able to always create a shot for himself. He needs someone to help get him in the right spots, like a Cade Cunningham. That's why I think if the Pistons had the number one pick, Jabari has to be the guy.
It's really about fit. It's like the benefit for Jabari Smith at Auburn was having Walker Kessler and really protecting the rim that can kind of mimic what some NBA teams might be able to offer, where he doesn't need to be the rim protector at 6'10". He can be that guy off ball, you know, wreaking havoc in the pass.
He can if you go small, but it's nice to it's kind of like what the Bucks have with Giannis, where Giannis can be that rim protector if they have to have him at the 5. But when they have Brook Lopez, they're even better, because he's like, thank you, I don't have to bear this responsibility.
Thank you so much for watching The Void. Please be sure to subscribe to The Ringer so you get all of our NBA videos in your feed every single week throughout the playoffs and into the drafts.